Hi, Salsa.
Hello.
Hi. So this is Salsa. She's 17 from Indonesia, and we met through a mutual friend, Kanya, at a women's focus group. And I'm so glad you offered to come forward and speak about your experiences, because I think this is quite a unique topic and one that we all really could know more about. So thanks for coming on.
No problem. I'm really glad that it's finally, this kind of thing is finally being heard or like being open to, because even before this, I didn't think that such a topic would. I know that mental health is becoming more known with people, but I didn't think that this topic in particular is something that would gain attention or like have a place to be shared.
I know I couldn't have imagined the response either. Like, I'm really, really happy that people are willing to listen, or some people, and even more importantly, to share their experiences. So,
Yeah.
yeah, how have you been affected by mental health?
Well, as a highly sensitive person, I would say that I wouldn't say that it's really affected. It's more of a case where life has always been like this, and it's a condition that came with my existence in a way that's like how I say this. From a very young age, it's always a case where I feel a lot of things, and it's affected how I interact with people. Like when I was a kid, it was always like a lot of um, loud noises. I didn't like loud noises. I don't like strong flavors. I don't like conflict. I feel like a lot of people who are highly sensitive really um, because the word sensitive is used a lot in media. Used a lot in communities. It's a lot like anxiety, in which it's like used in a, when in the phrase it's like a feeling, and it's like if I'm feeling sensitive, people would usually associate it with like if there's a stimuli or someone's mad at them, it would make them feel like hurt, or it makes them really angry or something. And sensitive is often associated with things that has to do with emotion, when in reality it's so much more. It's to do with what we see. It's to do with what we hear and what we feel and what we experience in general, and how it affects, like for example, relationships. Not only like romantic relationships, it's like relations with family, relations with friends, and relations to um, anyone in general. Is like we always have feel like we have to make sure that we look like we're not affected by a lot of things, which I know that a lot of people are. And I'm not sure where to go to this with this, because it's really more of a condition where you get overstimulated by things that are usually normal to people, but at the same time we feel like it's we're feeling understimulated when nothing's happening, or like the same routine is going on. Yeah. And for example, for a normal day for someone who doesn't have this kind of situation, is like um, we're always looking for the next high. We're always looking for something to look forward to with positive energy, but not too much positive energy, because that's also a lot. And yeah, I feel like that's
Yeah.
mostly
So,
why I think.
yeah. For people who don't know about this, highly sensitive person, or HSP, is what you are, and this affects like lots of different parts of your life, like relationships, and yeah, I think it's not spoken about very much, or at least in my like experience, I haven't heard that much about it. Maybe one or two people have talked about it with me. So
Mm.
yeah, for someone who doesn't understand it at all, how would you summarize like being a highly sensitive person?
I would summarize it as the name implies, highly sensitive person is like someone who takes in a lot of stimuli, and because we're so accustomed to that kind of intensity. That's the word, intensity, because if you're eating food, for example, that's something that everyone senses. It's like sometimes it overwhelms you, and like if you're watching a movie, like the noise overwhelms you, the visuals overwhelm you. But in like cases, in real life cases, when you're simply in class, for example, as simple as like wanting to talk, or how would I say this? Um, all these senses are coming up, and it's even crazier when it comes to like personal relationships and like friendship and like mentorship and companionship. Oftentimes I feel like people feel like we don't want to scare you off. Like oftentimes when I become friends with a new person um, who doesn't seem like they get this kind of lingo, it's like, are you sure you want to be dealing with this? Because I don't want to scare you off, and because we're so used to feeling like the burden in a way that's like when there's nothing wrong happening, we feel like something wrong is happening from like the mood someone is um, the mood someone is like showing, or like a tone, or any intonation that feels off. It makes I remember when I was a toddler, I always cried when someone's intonation was getting a bit higher. Like and I have always been used to like being called the sensitive one. Like even from when I was a baby, it was always something like, you're already big, don't cry. You're already big, don't cry. And like for the next like 10 years, it's always been coined as that. Like stop crying because you're already a big girl. But the weirdest thing, I feel like this has to do with like the culture that I grew up in, is that I grew up in a school that was like local. Like everyone was also Indonesian, and the teachers were mostly Indonesian, and like it was just a very cultural thing. And but then like 2 years ago, I moved to an international school, which I'm very grateful for as the opportunity. And the way I acted was reacted in a completely different way, like being um, being someone who is more sensitive to situations where like there's a lot of personal pressure. For example, there's a lot of pressure from home, or from like family, or friends, or anything that's going on. There was never a problem, which is weird for me because it's always been a big deal my entire life, and it's different, yeah. And probably it also has to do with like the um the mass media, and like how people usually associate sensitive people with, and like people like, sure, we are becoming more aware of these people and with like conditions and disorders, and I'm really happy for that. However, I feel like a lot of the resources I've read and like watched about people who react more, like highly sensitive people do, they associated with some sort of trauma. They associated with some sort of like something happened in your childhood, or something bad happened to your relationship, or you were doing great at school. But when I reflect to myself, I feel like I have a great family, and I have wonderful friends, and um, I'm really grateful to have like an excellent education. But why do I still feel like something's missing or something's wrong? And I feel like this is something that people should know about, because highly sensitive people are not made from trauma, are not made from their life situations. This is just how we are born as. Yeah.
I think that's so important, like to highlight that there's not always a reason for these things. I think as a society we look for reasons and like want to put people in boxes
Yeah.
and categories. And but having said that, has a label of like HSP or highly sensitive person helped you, or you know, is that something that you tell people a lot, or not?
Oh,
And also,
um,
yeah, yeah, no, please tell.
oh, okay. Well, thing is, how media shows people who react the way highly sensitive people normally act, like how we normally would like naturally react, is
Mm,
as we usually react in ways that are like way too overreactive, and we're way too overly sentimental or sensitive, and we act like the people in media who wants drama, who wants trouble. There's like there's a peaceful kind of situation in like a friends meeting or something, and it's natural for us to feel like there's something wrong. We're not looking for trouble, we're not looking for conflicts to happen. We just can't help but feel like we need to talk about something that we're feeling. But oftentimes when we actually bring it up, it's like, what like you're overreacting, or like you're being overly sensitive, and or like the biggest name or label that we've been called as is attention seeking. Because even now I feel weird talking to you about this, because in my head I'm always accustomed to, don't talk about this because it makes you feel like you're seeking for attention or you need attention, when in reality I really hate having attention because it makes me feel like something wrong is going to happen. I feel like that's the biggest thing that I wish that um, people were more aware of. Like, don't assume that someone is looking for attention. There are people who are looking for attention, and the way like media and like social media especially has been using like sensitivity as a concept, it makes people more prone to be called as overreacting and sensationalizing and looking for attention, when in reality it's just what we feel. It really is just how we are. Yeah.
yeah. So, what do you wish you were told earlier? Because it sounds like there's a lot of, there's a lot of misunderstanding out there. So, what would it have helped to have been told earlier? Even though you are 17 and you seem to know like so much and articulate yourself so well, much better than me at 17. But it would be
um,
nice what you wish you would have been told earlier.
um, I wouldn't necessarily say that I was told earlier, because even if someone told me, sure, it would help me as an individual, but it wouldn't necessarily help me get on with my life, because
Mm,
identifying this kind of situation and giving it a name that's clear and objective helps me rationalize my own struggles and emotions. However, I feel like what I wish happened
mm,
before I, um, for example, moved to a better educational situation is that I wish that people would have more compassion. Like
mm,
before, I wish people would think before assuming something, or generalizing the situation. I know that in an educational kind of system, it's like the educators usually have like the responsibility of teaching, but I feel like it's also important for them to give give a chance for the people who they're educating to be treated as humans, not as children. Even though
mm,
um, the fact that we're young should not be a sign of weakness or a sign that we're not developed yet, because I feel like that's the biggest misinformation that comes around, like that people who are really sensitive or have really low maturity rates, or like we're not fully developed, or we're not sorry or we're not like fully well-rounded people. And I wish that people um, who find people who are like me and who are more essentially more sensitive and like more who feels and senses more things out than a lot of people do are can still be well-rounded, fully developed people instead of like sense of immaturity or like yeah, because people associate the lack of professionalism as immaturity and like not being able to handle themselves and like all throughout my life it's always been like the biggest advice people give me like in all the report cards and all of the like advice given is always you have to try to control your emotions bro even though yeah that's the one thing I wish people just talk to them just talk to them don't assume things.
So if you are like always being told this kind of advice that is, you know, always helpful, what would be your main point of advice to end on to anyone who knows someone that's highly sensitive or, you know, maybe themselves are highly sensitive? What would be your main advice?
I would start with saying that at least for people who have friends or have relatives or have people in their lives who are highly sensitive, stop assuming. Just stop assuming. They're not like you. Like they're feeling way more things that you're feeling. They're experiencing way more things, and like a lot of people associate experiencing more things as very beneficial or like a brag. This is not a brag. This is just how things are, and I don't think people really understand that experiencing more has also has its major consequences to like emotional stability or mental stability. And I wish that people who, if you know someone who is highly sensitive, especially if they're prone to anxiety, just talk to them. Like explicitly remind them that you care and remind sorry.
Don't worry, take your time. This has been really informative. It's also like I've learned so much just from this short conversation. I know I want to do more research as well now. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you to those of you who have a friend or a family relative or someone you know that is highly sensitive. What we want you to know is that probably starting over saying sorry for making you feel like you're responsible for something you didn't sign up for because as a highly sensitive person, oftentimes when you build new bridges, you're afraid of overwhelming them the way we are overwhelmed. And I would like to say that your emotions and your words and your nuances like affect us greatly and they matter so much to us. And in no way is this meaning that in no way that you should stop acting the way you are because that makes us feel worse. We like when someone changes their attitude or the way they talk or the way they interact with us, if it changes or something, it makes us feel like we're doing something wrong, even though we know that. Even though we know that you care so much for us, and the only reason that you're changing the way you're talking is because you care about us and you don't want us to be uncomfortable, and we really appreciate that. But it's okay. The more you the more you act like yourself around us, and the more honest you are with us, it's so much better for everyone. And if you feel like something is off with them, or they're acting like they're not feeling good, or they're acting like really annoyed, or they're acting like really passive aggressive, I wouldn't necessarily advise you to like give them space, because that makes them feel like they're doing something wrong. Because we're accustomed to thinking that we're doing something wrong. So if they're acting off, just talk to them. Like, give them a safe space to be around, and safe safe place to feel like being overstimulated by things or being understimulated is okay, because it is okay. And probably the last thing I would like to say that is like, we're not always overstimulated, where there are times when we're actually frustrated over being understimulated, because we're so used to having so many things going on that when something is going normally or something is not going on, it also tells us that something's wrong, or it also tells us that something's missing, or we're wasting our time, or that we're doing something that we're not doing something that we should be doing. If, and so yeah, if this happens to your friend or someone who you know, just talk to them and remind them that you care, like explicitly. Like, they're already working so hard to act normal and interact with people who don't feel things the way they feel. Please give them a chance to feel everything and feel accepted. Yeah, and probably for those who probably for those who um, and for those of you who are also highly sensitive, there's a lot of people like you. Like, I googled it, and I googled it, and like the people people who actually go through this kind of thing is like 15 and 20% of people. That's a lot. 50 people. That's huge. That's more people than people who are left-handed, and it's like, it's crazy, because how are we experiencing this and not knowing that we have each other? Like, like, where do we find these communities? Like, I'm gonna be honest, like the only thing that has happened to me that validated my experiences was that one book. If you Google highly sensitive people, there's always gonna be that one book that people mention. I forgot who made it, but it's always people always reference that one book, and the fact that there's only one book about this is crazy. Or maybe that's there. Sorry, there's probably more books about this, but the fact that there's only one book talking about this, and there's so many books already talking about stress, talking about anxiety, is crazy, because people should know more about this, and that you're normal. Well, you're not normal, you're very different. We're all very different, but you don't need to be normal, and you need to know that you're not overreacting, and you're not immature. You're not You're not an attention seeker. You're just you.
Thank you so much, Salsa. You've been such a, like, it's been so moving and open, and I think that this will help a lot of people, because I think we're so used to shutting down as a society difference and branding people, like calling people demeaning, things, and putting people down for being different. And I think your message is shown to celebrate difference and to embrace the people for who they are, not what you want them to be. And I think that's just huge. Thank you so much for being so honest and
Thank
brave.
you too.
Thank you.
I feel like the fact that my face looks like this now is also an homage of how we always react to most things. This is something that should not be like an offense to anyone. This is this is especially important for those who actually know someone like this, because if you do know and you are close to someone who is like highly sensitive, there's a big chance that you as a person matter so much to them, and um, that's okay. It just I hope that it makes it less of a burden and more of a case where you have a privilege of knowing that you get to experience more things that normally people would experience at your age. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you've shown that as well in all that you have said. I think that, you know, you've been through a lot, and I think that it's really, really brave and open of you to talk to us about it and help, you know, educate, because obviously it's a difficult thing to talk about. It can be really tiring and
Yeah.
emotional thing to talk about, but I'm really, really proud of you and really thankful for you to have shared that with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.